shake your sillies out. Hi everyone, this is Luke from e-CBD, and we're going to talk today about making your business more profitable. In particular, we're going to talk about businesses that rely upon leads, although a lot of this is obviously still relevant to businesses that sell products online, etc. But in particular, I want to focus more on getting leads through your website, getting quotes, whatever it might be. But like I said, it should cover off areas that are important to most businesses. So we're going to be talking about something called conversion rate and conversion rate optimization today. So first of all, what is a conversion? Look, a conversion, if you don't know, is just simply when somebody completes an action on your website that you want them to. So be it they call you, or they send through a get a quote form, whatever it might be like that. So that's what we consider a conversion, okay? Now, you might consider a conversion when you've taken that person down a bit further down the funnel and you've actually turned them into a customer or client. But we consider conversions on our end as when people complete an action from your website, and even sometimes, external to your website. So conversion rate optimization in that regard means that we're looking at, and the way you work it out in a percentage is the number of people coming to your website versus the number of people who are completing those actions or those conversions on the website. And so, as I talked about last week with SEO, you can be targeting terms such as, terms you think are very important for your business, which bring in lots of traffic, but then only one person converts out of that. So let's say you get 1,000 visits via one term, or a number of terms from organic SEO, and one of those people converts. That would be a 1% conversion rate. But we also talk about the importance of understanding, okay, if 100 people come through to your website and 10 of those people convert, so they submit some kind of inquiry or they call you, well, that's a 10% conversion rate. And obviously, the lower number of people converting at that higher rate is obviously more desirable. So when we talk about conversion rate, we're not just talking about increasing the number of people that inquire, obviously that's part of it, but it's also looking at that ratio of how many visitors are coming through to the website and how many of those are going that extra step and making contact, so that then you can follow up on those particular inquiries and leads. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And look, this is an exhaustive subject. There's been whole books written on this. There's lots and lots of blog posts out there that you can take a look at. It's all very interesting, gets into psychology and A/B testing, split testing, multivariate testing, all those sorts of things. And if you're really interested, you can obviously look at those types of things. We're going to try and hopefully just draw out about 5 different ideas today that will just help you as a business owner or as somebody who's optimizing sites and working on websites and just generally trying to help the site be more to perform better. We're going to essentially talk today about and try and bring some very practical suggestions in that regard. So are we having trouble with the volume? Is that okay? So, all right, just making sure we haven't got any technical difficulties. All right, so first of all, before we even talk about actions that you can take to help increase your conversion rate, we need to probably look, are you focused on conversions, or as we talked about last week, are you focused on maybe other things that maybe aren't as important, like where you rank for this particular term that you think is just going to send thousands of people to your website and land you in the land of piles of money and money fights? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Hopefully after last week's video, you're kind of more focused on, okay, well, what's important, what's valuable to my business from the further down the funnel, and how do I get people through that to that point where they're submitting an inquiry, picking up the phone and calling, etc. So are you focused on leads, but also are you focused on tracking leads? Because that's also important, because you're not going to be able to tell if you're getting better at doing it if obviously you're not tracking them in the first place. So Tracking, and when we talk about tracking, we're thinking particularly things like Google Analytics, setting up goals in Google Analytics so that when people complete certain actions on the website, those are registered, and then it quite easily works things out like your conversion rate. So, it does all that for you. So if you're not tracking goals on your website, which hopefully you are, you're going to struggle to improve on that because you're just flying blind. So those two things, being focused on leads, and then also making sure you're tracking those leads accurately and in a way that you can keep monitoring them and improving on them. All right, so now on to some practical things that you can do to increase your conversion rate. Number one, we'll keep this one, this is a really simple one. Having a click-to-call button on the mobile version of your website. Okay. This is one of those things these days, obviously, most people are on mobile phones and accessing websites through mobile phones. I would say most people's websites, probably over 50% of the traffic is probably coming from mobile phones, if not pretty close to that. Okay, it depends on the business, but for most of our clients, we see that trend either they're just under 50% or they're over 50% mobile traffic, depending on the industry and the type of client or customer they have. So having a click-to-call button there, so that when they open up your page on their phone, there it is right at the top, and maybe they visit a few pages, then they go, you know what, I need to get in touch with these guys, these look like the people I need to speak to. They click to call. You can measure that in Google Analytics so that you can see when people do that, and then obviously they can follow through, speak to you, and once you've got them on the phone, it's obviously a very hot lead, and hopefully you can then turn them into a client or customer. So not only have you got that call to action, a click to call, but are you tracking those click to call events? Because obviously you won't know if they're improving over time if you're not tracking them. So first of all, put a click to call button on your website if you don't already have one, or some kind of icon or something like that, something that's clear. I often find I like using actually the words click to call. A phone icon's pretty good, but I think people will just glance at it, see click to call, bang, and they can click on it and they know what's going to happen. And that's an important, just as an aside, when it comes to conversions, having buttons with descriptive, especially if it's going to do something, okay, having a button that's descriptive is actually really important. So click to call button. Very important if you don't have one already, and make sure you're tracking it. Point number 2, we've already mentioned it in the click to call. Have you got call to actions on your website? Okay, so a call to action, or a CTA, all right, we use a few abbreviations here. That is essentially something that prompts people to take that action that you want them to make. So whether it's get a quote, submit a contact form, apply now, click to call, sign up to our newsletter, all those sorts of things, they are called a call to action, and they can be in the form of a button. Generally it's in the form of a button, but it can be a heading or an area that catches the eye. So generally you only, one, do you have clear call to actions? All right, so if you've got get a quote and it's just the same size as the text, and it's in the same colour as the text, and it's down the bottom in the right hand corner, probably not a great call to action. But if you've got a button that's not too garish, not bright red and flashing, but that says get a quote, that fits in with the rest of the theme of the website, it's an easy thing for them to go through. They read through the content and they go, oh yeah, that's what I want to do, I want to get a quote, and they click on that button. Pretty simple stuff, but it's just those little things that, do you actually have them on the website, and are they clear, and do they stand out? Do you have too many call to actions? So if you're already there and you've got call to actions, are you asking people to just do too many things? So do you want me to get a quote, or do you want me to apply now? Or should I get in touch? Do you want me to call you? What should I do? So making sure that you give people enough options to make it easy for them to complete your most desired action, but then not overwhelming them and pulling them in all different directions. And this is especially important if you're using landing pages for paid advertising, because especially if you're sending people to a page in particular and you're paying for every click, obviously, if they're confused about what you want them to do, because your call to actions, you've either got too many or not a strong enough call to action, you're going to be wasting your money. All right, so, generally on a landing page, if you want them to get in touch with you, a click call and a get in touch or whatever's relevant, whether it's, apply now or get a quote, a button that says that and a click to call should be significant. I also like to throw in, if it's relevant, a subscribe to our newsletter, so that if they're not ready to make contact right then and there, you give them a second chance, hopefully to stay in contact with you, and you haven't kind of wasted that money that costs for them to get there. So, but it's up to you. You've got to kind of judge that upon what you're trying to get people to do. Point number 3, video. Now, we talk a lot about video. Obviously, that's how we're doing this today, and we just see that how important it is to businesses, and more it's becoming important and something that you should be really thinking about if you're not already doing it. As far as conversions go, the general consensus is that videos help to convert potential visitors to clients or customers. It keeps people on the site longer. So if they've stopped to watch a video, obviously they're spending a bit more time, they're getting information, they're getting to know you, all right? So it keeps them there longer, which is valuable, which then in turn can reduce your bounce rate, because once they're there, they've watched a video. If they've stayed there for a couple of minutes, watched a video, they're going, okay, I think I'm in the right place. Then they might start going and looking at the rest of your site, and before you know it, they have, they look at your site and they kind of start building up a picture of you and think, okay, this is the person that I need to, or this is the business that I need to contact. It's also a really quick way to answer frequently asked questions, and in that way build trust. Okay, so not only are you building that trust which will potentially get them to convert, but you're also answering questions that maybe they don't have to ask you later on down the track, which can be valuable for you. Videos are shareable. Okay. On a side note, make sure your videos are shareable in the sense that they're compelling and interesting. One of the things I think you can, and I've seen it happen before, you can do a video and think, great, I'm going to do a video, it's exciting, we're doing this, and then the video just turns out to be a really technical or uninspiring video. Look, not every subject is going to be super compelling, but try and make it as compelling as you can for whatever industry you're in and whatever don't get too technical, don't get bogged down in things that really aren't relevant to your audience and your customers and potential customers. Make sure you use call to actions in video, all right? So especially if you're putting them up on YouTube, you're putting them on Facebook or other mediums that aren't connected to your website, at the end of the video, there's a perfect opportunity. If they've watched all the way to the end, there's a perfect opportunity to say, hey, you've watched all the way to the end. Go to our website for more details, or check out more of our videos on our website, or give us a call if you need help with such and such, or whatever it might be. Use that as an opportunity to turn it into a call to action. One of the other interesting things you can do, and this is a little bit more advanced, is especially if you've got a long form video, maybe one that's about 20 minutes long possibly, and it's really something that might be it's valuable to a potential customer. You can have what's called a turnstile, and what a turnstile is that, say, 2 minutes into the video, when you've kind of got them hooked and they're like, okay, you put a little turnstile there which says, please enter your name and your email address, and sign up to our email list, and then we'll let you watch the rest of the video. Now, if they've stayed around for 2 minutes, and if they're really that interested, they'll do that. If they're not, obviously they'll, maybe they weren't as hot a lead or as a potential customer as you might have thought. But play around with that one. That's a bit more advanced, and it depends on the type of content you're producing. For most videos, you won't do that, but for certain videos and for certain industries, that might be really valuable at turning that video into a generator of leads in that way. All right, we're sticking with video just for a little bit longer. As far as content goes on your website, videos really augment and they reinforce the content. So yes, you might have some great pictures, you've got some well-written, interesting content, but then throw a video in there and you've got a really good mix of different mediums that, they watch the video and then they go, okay, well, I was really interested by that, I'm going to read the rest of this content here as well. and so you're giving them lots of options for engaging with your site, and so keeping them on there, and obviously building that trust factor, which leads to hopefully conversion. Certain videos don't need to be super expensive to produce either. I think that's a misconception. You can do animated videos. We actually provide a service where you can do animated videos quite cheaply, okay? And they're really in the context of, say, you've got maybe a couple of different services that you want to do videos for. An animated video can be a great way to do that, and at a cost-effective, rate. So definitely, you don't need to let cost be prohibitive in that regard. It's also, animated videos are great if you're not a big fan of being in front of the camera. I don't mind being in front of a camera, but some people certainly don't. I know most people in the office here aren't keen when I say, "Hey, come on, let's do a video." So if you're one of those people and you're not a fan of being in front of the camera, an animated video can be a great way to create videos that build that trust, that educate and get people into that funnel so that they turn into customers. And also, you can, even if if you do a number of videos, you can create characters within those animated videos, which are great because then you can carry that theme through, and there's a consistency, and that also, again, building that trust factor. And as I was saying before, you've got the bonus once you create a video of being in the second biggest search engine on YouTube, and you've got a lot more visibility. So video's great for conversion rate optimization in that regard. Okay, let's keep moving through. Number 4. This is a bit more of a touchy-feely type question, and I thought, I'm smiling because last week apparently that the touchy-feely comment made some people feel a little bit touchy. But you know what I mean. It's more of a thinking question rather than, or some thinking points rather than things you can specifically do. So point number 4 is think about your conversion funnel. And maybe you've done this, and if you have, that's great. I really commend you for doing that, because I think that's one of the biggest things that we often see with businesses. Sometimes, maybe they've done a little bit of thinking about their conversion funnel, but often, it's kind of been more so, let's just get leads. Okay, well, let's take a step back and let's look at, how this all works and how it comes together, and how do we fix problems in the conversion funnel to make sure that we get a good flow of leads, which is what you want. So, number 1 out of 4, point 4A, we'll say that. Who are your ideal clients and customers? Have you thought about that? Okay, because that's important to knowing, how you need to structure your outward-facing, your website, and the search terms you're trying to target, and the way you word your content and your videos and all that kind of thing. So you need to know, first of all, who your ideal clients and customers are. How can you meet their needs? Okay, don't just stop at, we can do this, and this for them. Okay, think about more about what is it they're really looking for. In the same way, I'll say to somebody, you don't really want to rank for this term. What you want is more of these particular leads or a particular action. And so you've got to think about, what does that person really want when they come to your website? Okay, you think, I'll just tell them all about my services and that should be enough. But is that enough? Are you answering all those questions that they have that may be underlying the reason that they're there in the first place? Do you have a unique value proposition? Okay, do you have something special that you do that nobody else does in your area? And sometimes you can think, I don't really do, I'm this type of service business, I do the same thing as Joe Blow down the street, and so I don't really have, but maybe you do things in a certain way, and you know your competitor, you know what they do, and you hear about, people who did some work with them, then they come over to you and they said, such and such, they didn't do this, or they didn't do that. Okay, if you are doing this or that thing that person appreciates in the way you do, you provide your services, then that's your unique value proposition. Okay, how do I push that to the front when I'm on my website so people know that that's what I do? Like for us, we're very good at support. Okay, we really like, you can always get us on the phone. You can call us and we'll chat to you about things. And so that's something that we need to push to the front, because some businesses in our industry don't do that as well, and we think we do quite a good job at that. So find your unique value proposition, and obviously that's a point of difference from your competitors. We kind of covered that off. Thinking about this funnel, okay, where would those clients, where would be the best place for them to see you and become aware of you? Okay, so that's the top of your funnel. Okay, how do you reach out to them? Which channels? Is it Facebook? Is it search? And this could be paid advertising. It could also be organic. What type of questions do you need to be answering to help people, discover more of your business? Okay, and it doesn't have to be that I do this, and this, and that's how they'll find me. So no, what are the things surrounding that? Again, answering those questions, those underlying questions perhaps that your clients have about the services you provide. Okay, so that's also a really powerful way of thinking about, okay, well, how do I, where do I need to be seen? Particularly we're talking online, but that might help you also offline as well. And then finally, when you get your leads, and we kind of jumped to the end of the funnel, or partway through, are you nurturing leads once you've got them? What are you doing with them? Do you just give them a call and then just, that's it? Or send them an email and that's it? Or do you have, a CRM, customer relations management software, where you're, putting in reminders to follow them up? Maybe you've got an automated email system that's, sending out follow-up emails. These are all things that you need to be thinking about, and that's the whole automated email thing, and CRMs, that's a whole nother discussion. But if your business warrants it, it's definitely worth having in place, and it's a great way to make sure that you're not, the money you're spending, particularly if you're spending a lot of money on paid advertising, making sure that you're not wasting that investment or squeezing the most return on that investment. Point number 5, we're going to finish this up. I know this has been a long one. User experience. Again, this is a bit more thinking about your website and what's important on your website. How long has it been since you've actually gone through your website, and do you know what is even on there? Because a lot of people, you build it, you go, okay, great, it's done, and you walk away. Now, unless you're employing somebody like ourselves to do regular optimization on your site, you may not know what's even on there. Okay, but if you're the one taking care of it, well, then you need to be checking and seeing what's on there. Is what is on there putting your best foot forward to try and draw people in and draw people through into that conversion? Have you ever tried to pretend to be a customer and get on your website and try and navigate and find things? Okay, try and just pretend like, okay, I don't know anything about my business. How would I, if I land on the home page, how would I get to this or that? And let's say I'm looking for this. All right, I'm going to try and find my way through. And just doing that yourself can be a huge eye-opener, and you just go, okay, oh wow, all right, we're missing some really important aspects here, information, maybe call to actions, whatever it might be, maybe some images. We need to include those because we're not doing a good job at guiding people through to that point of conversion. Have you asked others to do the same? Say, go to somebody, say, can you please, try and find this particular service, and then make an inquiry on my website? Or can you see if you can find this information about da-da-da-da? Get them to go through that process, and then see if they can do it. And if they can't, start to ask some questions about where they got lost and where it fell apart. Nearly done. Does your site layout and content, etc., fit into your conversion funnel that you've planned out? Okay, so it's just another thing. Do you know what's on your website, and then does it actually work with this point number 4, where you've thought about your conversion funnel? Does it actually work? Have you, or are you kind of going, oh, hang on, the stuff that's on the website, it's nothing like what I think my ideal customer would be looking for. Okay, well, you need to make some changes. And then finally, it's an ongoing thing. We do it for our clients, and it's a monthly thing where you'll define that audience. You start to make changes on your website to appeal to your ideal customer. You test, okay, your changes. You experiment some more, and then you repeat. And you keep doing this process where each month you're just trying to improve that experience to increase that conversion rate, and help make your site just more and more effective in being, your best salesperson, or whatever it is your goals are. Okay, so user experience is a huge subject, and that's another thing we could cover in another video. But really, you want to test, experiment, repeat, and make sure you're reviewing those goals and making sure that you're getting positive results. All right, this has been a long one today. Was there any questions? Anybody have any questions? No? That's okay. So hopefully this has been valuable for you. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we're going to be doing this again next Thursday. We'll try and make it a little bit shorter. But feel free to ask questions, send them via email, add them in the comments, and we'll try and answer your questions. If you need help with any of the things you've heard about today, please contact us. We're always here to give advice and to chat to you about how we can help you. All right, thanks very much, and have a great week.